For May the 21st, 2021, we talk about Subnautica Below Zero, Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York, and we ask you which video game character would be your roommate. Welcome to Level 372. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Jala Prendez.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome back, Jala.
Woohoo! I'm alive. I'm here.
Yeah.
Almost didn't happen because of a mic problem.
Yeah, we had a solid
Yay.
half hour trying to figure that out. But you had a backup microphone, and thanks to the patrons' generosity, you will soon have a new microphone that works better. RIP, the old Audio Technica ATR 2100. Thank you for 5 years of service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's going on, Jala?
Oh, well, we got a tornado watch, so hopefully I don't blow away while this podcast is recording. I guess everyone will know if that happens.
Hopefully.
Let's see. Other than that, I got a nose ring, and also I got engaged.
Congratulations. What?
So, yeah, those are two things that happened. I proposed. I am, that's the thing. Dave said yes, he would be my bride. So
congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It'll be a long ass engagement too, because COVID
right.
has been a financial nightmare. So
Of course.
that's a thing. But that's okay.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How are you folks doing?
Like I can top that story.
Yeah. I got divorced.
I made apple chips over the weekend. So
apple chips are amazing. Okay, that's very good news. I will sit there and apples disappear so fast the moment you start dehydrating them. Like you're like, this was 7 bags of apples. There's like a small pittance of chips and in a little tiny bowl.
Mm-hmm. It's that way with most stuff. Like with any kind of dried fruit, it's like, oh god, I just ate $14 worth of dried pineapple. Fuck.
Right. Well, the thing is that one thing that I've always wanted to do and I no longer can do because I actually mailed my dehydrator to my sister because she's got little kids, so she can make like a bunch of sweet treats that are not candy.
Right.
But like whenever I get another dehydrator, I am going to dehydrate watermelon and see what happens. I want to know what's left, if there's anything, if it's just like a shriveled husk and like whatever. I just want to know. That's all. I mean, like I don't anticipate anything exciting to happen with it. I just pretty much figure that it will be
it's like finally the seed's time to shine. It's like I'm the master now.
Right.
I think that's how they make a bag of holding. I think you're going to get negative space if you try that.
Well, there you go. I've just discovered something awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you make apple chips and do you have a dehydrator, Ben, or?
No, I did in the oven. It was like 1 hour each side, but even that they probably needed to be in it longer. So I will try another batch probably sometime the next week.
Nice.
You know what I really want to know how to do is how to make those gummy, like those actually it's fruit, but like they're chewy apple rings. You know what I'm talking about? That don't have the peel on them, but they're rings of apple that are just, like I don't know how to make those to where they come to that consistency without browning. It's very odd. I don't know what magic they use to do that.
Yeah. Huh. Apple chips sound good. That sounds pretty delicious right now.
You need an apple and an oven. So
yes. I have a couple of apples, but they're pretty old. They're the last apples in a Sam's Club bag. So
I see.
Oh,
yeah, and
they're the saddest apples.
Yes.
How? That's a challenge, man. Shopping at we went on a bachelor party with 10 people, and we were daunted by like the size of Sam's Club items. Like, how do you do it, Cole?
I mean, do you want the honest answer?
Yes.
A vacuum sealer. I mean, like the actual like fresh produce or whatever. Like I will process it. So I'll like So when I say it's like the last apples in a Sam's Club bag, like it's the last apples that are fresh right now. The rest have been vacuum sealed. I slice them up and then I vacuum seal them in a little bag, put it in the freezer. and it stays good forever. So you can take it out and and just like either like leave them on the counter and then eat them, or you can work them into smoothies or whatever. But yeah, like if I get fresh food at Sam's Club, it's all processed in the vacuum sealer.
I was expecting something more like shameworthy when you said, "Can I tell you an honest answer?" Like that seems perfectly reasonable.
No, it's perfectly reasonable.
I know,
I mean, it's
like
I make Greta eat all of them.
I never know what kind of plants are poison to a cat, so I don't let them have any kind of like fruits or vegetables or anything. They like to smell them. Like when I'm cutting up fruit, they're always like up on my knee. And then I hold down whatever I'm cooking, and then they smell them, and then they go away. They don't even try to lick them. I think that they're just curious and want to be let in on the process.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're always curious. They're cats. That's what they do.
Yeah. No, I
gotta be all up in there.
I sounded kind of ashamed when I talked about that, because like I don't know, it's pretty geeky and it's over the top on stuff. But like back at the beginning of the pandemic, when I had no idea what the food storage situation would be or like the food availability was going to be, I just kind of like got one of those and stocked up, and I've just been rotating stock on all kinds of my freezer is like full. I've actually like priced out getting like a chest freezer for my garage, but
awesome.
But yeah, no.
all right, I understand more. Yeah, I see.
Oh, and by the way, like I do want to get a freezer for the garage because my parents have filled up the very small amount of freezer that there is, and like if I want to make anything and have like a back stock of it so that way I can save it, or like if I want to make fresh fruit pops or something, there's literally no room to put it in my fridge. Also, I just shared this is unrelated. I found out today that there is a bird dar in the world. You can see where migratory birds are in the US, and I have linked it, and I also put it on my Twitter, so anybody listening to this can go back to Tuesday and find the bird dar. I found out because I am an Audubon Society member, and they sent me a message. Thank you, Cornell Labs, for making this thing. It's pretty great.
I'm a member of that too. I'm surprised I didn't see that alert.
Well, this is Gold Star member.
Actually, it's Audubon, Texas that sent that, because in Texas we get 2 million migratory birds.
Oh yeah.
So like lots of them come through. If you look at that map, it's like all right where I live, all the birds.
Yeah.
So,
is it like a guess of where they are? Do they like track some of them and like
they track nighttime progress or something? I don't know how they do that when they don't have trackers on all the birds. Maybe it's bird watchers or something. Tracking the flocks. I'm not sure how they do that. Whatever. I don't know. Like, I'm sure Cornell Labs can tell you all about it. They are the burb folks. One of the very burb folks.
Reminds me of those like flocks of butterflies that are so big they show up as storms on Doppler radar. Fucking love that. Yeah.
I am cultivating a bird, bee, and butterfly garden. So like I am hoping to attract all of the little creatures, and then I can have those as my pets, and then I won't actually have to have any pets that I have to take care of all the time and have yell at me in the morning or anything. Yeah. But like also still have lots of fancy birds.
Oh yeah. Pollinator garden's great.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I have no apple chips, no engagements. I just I went and got a.
What are you doing, Cole?
What are you doing with yourself, sir?
Get your shit together. No, I went and got a haircut, and I went to an arcade.
I saw that.
Yeah,
that was pretty amazing. The pinball and
yeah. I did the things that I was really hoping to be able to do when I was vaccinated, and I'm feeling fine.
How was your arcade?
When you got out of prison,
yes,
it feels like that, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Where it's like, wow, I'm on the outside a little bit. Like, wow, this is a weird feeling to be able to go somewhere.
Yeah, to go somewhere like frivolously, like don't need a haircut. I could just do what I had been doing, which is hair tie and then like cut away stragglers. But like going to a bar arcade, there's no reason to do that. But aside from fun, and I went and did it for fun.
How was it? Really busy there or no?
I was because I have internalized anxiety because this past year has traumatized us all. I went pretty soon after it first opened at like 4 p.m. So that there wouldn't be But I stayed there for like an hour and a half. There were a couple of people going around, but there really wasn't a crowd. Like they have a restaurant as well. I left kind of when more people were coming in.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. It's kind of like I went to go see the new Mortal Kombat movie, but like I went with Dave like pretty early, on a day just to make sure that there was like not very many people in there, so it was fine.
Yeah, no, it just absolutely. I mean, even outside of the pandemic, I would always go to a movie on like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. The second I was able to do that, because that is the best time to go see a movie. But yeah,
I was gonna say, hat trick. I got to go eat with my coworkers for dinner this last week, so that was my frivolous outing that was really enjoyable.
Nice.
Yeah, like I've got a couple of friends that I haven't seen in almost 2 years now that I'm gonna be able to see this weekend for like brunch, and it's gonna be amazing to just see them in person and talk to them like face to face. Oh my god! Yeah, because we're all vaccinated fully, so yeah.
So that was nice. Otherwise, though, just usual stuff around the house. I am setting up a second office, one that is entirely for it's like for my PC and for VR, and to put some exercise stuff in there. And I'm taking down all of the spare bedroom stuff, including the spare bed, which the cats just kind of like always laid on. And so like I've been taking it apart slowly so they don't get too upset with me. But I think they know what's happening. So eventually it's gonna be gone, and they're gonna be pissed. But
I like the idea of you having like a business pleasure room and a business room, like, differentiating your offices.
Yeah. I'm just moving every single room around, which is yeah. So like the recording studio, like, production room is going to be where my actual bed is now, which is actually the smallest bedroom. Yeah.
Wow. Humble, giving yourself the smallest room.
All I do in there is sleep, but it's also annoying because you get up and you're smacking right into the bed. So, yeah. But yeah, just going to be doing all that and hoping that the cats don't fucking kill me. Which they might. I think that we should talk about games.
Sure.
I think that we should do the regular kind of show, what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss, and all of that. Getting started with the grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Jala, I'm going to throw to you first.
Okay, I have a few things to talk about. I will first begin with Co-op Corner, which hasn't occurred in a while, but I have a Co-op Corner to talk about now. Cool. So, first things first, Pokemon Sword. We finally finished all of the Dynamax adventures. Oh, yeah. So, there is nothing to say about that, other than the fact that there is some kind of DLC allegedly coming out sometime later this year for that game. So, there's going to be more to do, but it may or may not be co-op, so... And we got all of the Pokemon that I will never use because I'm not going to go through and look for every Pokemon in that game. So I don't know. Like we did it. It was just really fun to just kind of veg out after work when all of us had a stressful time. And this is me and Dave and Desiree and John, who are two listeners and friends of ours. And so we would just kind of chill, catch up a little bit, just kind of sit on the voice chat and hang out, and then just check out and play this game a little bit. That was just co-op fun. So then after we ran out of that, then we played some Mario Kart 8, and that was very brief because John has played a lot of Mario Kart 8. And, when there's a disparaging difference between one person's level and literally everybody else playing who's hasn't played since Super NES or for me, Game Boy, right? I have the game, but I don't really play it very often.
It's so different now.
And it's kind of okay. Gee, I wonder who's going to win this time. Fucking John. Never mind, John. So we didn't do that anymore. And then we played some Gauntlet, and I have not played that game for about 4 years or so, 5 years, something like that.
New Gauntlet by the Magica people.
I don't know. It's not new. It was 24. 2015 maybe is when it released, like whatever that one was. We were playing that, and it's harder than I remember it. But then again, I was playing it, like I was playing a bunch of multiplayer games like that at that time. So maybe I was just better at that type of game at that time. I don't know. So then I was playing Kirby Star Allies with Dave because I was like, hey, you're local now, so we can play this together finally.
Yeah.
So, because I had stopped most of the way through the game because it was just like it felt like it said that I was only 33% done with the game, and I'm like, oh my god, how long is this game? But it turns out that the story mode is not what they consider to be 100%. To finish the story mode is just part of the thing. It's not like all of it. So it unlocked like 5 other game modes. So we just finished the story mode and unlocked a bunch of other stuff, but it looks like it would be so fun to play, with a bunch of people just hanging out at the house. So we will dabble with some of the other Kirby stuff, but I was kind of like losing my mind at the wonderful fun that is the end of the Kirby game, Kirby Star Allies. I've linked a few things that you guys can see about the Star Allies Sparkler, which was in this weird boss battle against the end boss that's like a shooter, because why not? And like then you have like a weird power, Hadouken fight, one Hadouken energy stream versus another one against the bad guy. And then you throw all of your friends at him and they all, I don't know, disappear. I don't know. It was just a lot. The end of that game was quite a lot, but it was a lot of fun.
That sounds like something I want, is like a Japanese game where the message is the power of friendship wins, but it's you sacrificing your friends to for you to solely win.
Yeah. Well, in the end there, it just shows Kirby like floating in space unconscious for a little while before he wakes back up again and then goes and flies on a star with his friends who magically reappear. I don't know. But anyway, so it's very Kirby, and it was quite a lot of fun. We will go back and play the other mini games, but for the time being, we set that aside because I also got Bobble for Friends. The Baron is back, and I want to talk about this one as one of like my main games now that I've kind of done my summary. So this one is the same as Bobble for Friends. Except it has the original Bobble included along with like a special tower mode that I'll talk about in a minute. It was developed by Taito, published by In Games. Baron is Back edition was released in March of last year. You have 5 different zones in the story mode with 10 stages apiece, so it's 50 levels for that section of the game, and each one of those zones has a boss battle. If you lose your lives, all of your lives, 5 times, or collectively between 2 players or up to 4 players, if you lose them 5 times, you are given the option to play the game on invincibility mode, where you can just get past the part you're struggling with and not have any options. You don't have to worry about dying or anything. That doesn't sound very exciting to me. So that's just really for like kids, if you're playing with kids and the kids are having a problem,
Yeah.
But anyway, it wasn't too frustrating or anything to where I felt like we needed to do that, But anyway, after you beat each of the bosses, you get a special power-up that you can use a limited number of times, kind of like, one of them has only 1 use on the lowest level, up to, I think it's 5 at the max level. Another one, depending upon what type of special bubble you have, it'll do a different thing. Like long range bubbles, I think it starts at 10 and then you get 15 and then you get 20 at the top level. Bomb bubbles and lightning bubbles are lower numbers, of course, because you don't want to be able to spam that. You can power it up by spelling extend in the level, by getting all of the letters during the levels, and then also by completing the zone faster or with a higher score. And then there's like 3 levels total that you can do. Level 1 is just the bare minimum. Congrats, you beat the zone. Level 2 is if you spell extend or have like this, better time or score. And then level 3 is when you have like a really good run through all of it. So anyway, other things to note, they have the little wizard guy that you fight. Now, in the original Bubble Bobble, his name was Super Drunk. He was of the race of drunks. All of his kind are called drunk, and they all throw bottles at you.
Okay.
They still throw chalices.
I know that game.
Yeah, but they still throw chalices, but they called Super Drunk Bonner, which is very upsetting to me. It's very offensive to my person that they called him Bonner and made him like a cutesy little guy instead of being, like super drunk. Like,
right.
I liked that actually. Anyway, you can play Bubble Bobble for friends is Bub and Bob, and then the female dinos, Pebaloon and Pabaloon, which are their girlfriends. So I play the Pebaloon, who is the little orange. Well, she used to be orange and now she's yellow.
Okay.
And then Dave plays Bob, which is the blue one, Bobaloon. And my dad was watching us play a little bit, and then later when I checked in on him, he asked me who won, Bob or Peb, and it was so charming to me that he remembered the names of our favorite bubble dragon. So, that was definitely a thing. But
he's
then
taking an interest. Yeah,
it was just so cute. But then, like, Super Drunk has like lasers and all different kinds of stuff. Sorry, Bonner, whatever. And so like he's got multiple forms that you have to go fight through to beat him in the story mode, but he's the last boss. After you finish the initial campaign mode, it unlocks hard mode for the campaign, and then also the Arcade of the Future, which is a tower of smaller levels that are closer in scope to the original Bubble Bobble, but they use the abilities of the new game, so you have all of those special abilities that you unlock in campaign mode. There's no continues. Multiplayer uses a shared life pool, and Skelmonster, or they renamed him later Baron von Blubba, is invincible and stalks you around the level constantly. Okay, you know the little skeleton monster, the white ghost guy that would come after you in the original Bubble Bobble?
Yep.
If you took too long in the level, that one is Skelmonster, also known as Baron von Blubba. And that's what the Baron is back is referring to the Arcade of the Future mode, wherein you are constantly being chased the entire time by that guy around the screen.
Okay.
They put Nemesis in a Bubble Bobble game?
Yes, it's Nemesis and Bubble Bobble. Wow. And like we did not go to that one. Instead, we went to the original Bubble Bobble. And like we were playing through and we stopped at like level 72 or something because it was really tricky. Like the original game is really breezy until like the last 20 levels or so. And then every once in a while in those 20 levels, there's just like a hard puzzle that's like, I say hard puzzle, it's harder than any of the other stuff that you've had to do where you have to like turn away within a very small confine and then jump and then turn and shoot a bubble and then turn back and then jump on the bubble, like just all different kinds of, weird, tricky stuff that you didn't have to do at all until that point. They throw at you curveball style in the original Bubble Bobble. So like, there's like a random difficulty spike in different levels for no viable reason. I don't know. And it's not like they trained you up for that beforehand. So
is this explicitly a challenge mode?
No, that's just the regular Bubble Bobble, the old NES Bubble Bobble.
Oh, yeah, they're the hell levels.
NES.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
NES.
I got confused. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
anyway, we've been playing that. But yeah, Bubble Bobble, like the Bubble Bobble for Friends campaign mode is, not very challenging. The last zone has some challenges to it, but like all the zones up to that are not super challenging. They're fun, but they're not like, oh man, this is such a hard platforming or puzzle part. It's not really. So
that sounds more in line with my perception of Bubble Bobble as like a fun game.
Bubble Bible, I love it.
Oh boy, Bubble Bible. That's the strategy guide for Bubble Bobble. Yes, that is what I associate with Bubble Bobble. Just having fun playing 2-player and vibing.
Yeah.
So it's good that they deliver that.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then what's also really fun is to go back and look at if I've recorded any videos of the levels and just watching the difference between how Dave and I play, because we play very differently, either in the old Bobble or even the new Bobble. We just have a different method of doing stuff that's very funny to watch. So but anyway, so I post incessantly from my Switch on my Twitter. That's part of the reason why I like my Switch. I can just post crap all the time and everybody can see it. So
you don't have to take a photo of the screen like with the Vita.
Oh man, that was such a nightmare having to do that all the time. But I did. I absolutely did. But man, it took forever. Anyway, any questions about Bobble for Friends?
No, it sounds like just what the doctor ordered.
It's a lot of fun. It's very cute. It's like I could see playing that and playing Kirby Star Allies with people just hanging out, even if they're not video game people. Like, these are easy enough games that, they can be picked up by whoever. But so the next thing that I played, I was finishing up Kakapo Run. So the conservation game, the Endless Runner, where you are trying to save the Kakapo parrots, which are there's less than 200 of them left in the world. And I love this particular parrot. I'm very much about their conservation. I share them on Twitter quite often.
This is the parrot that humped that guy's head, right?
Yes, it's that parrot. It's the party parrot.
Okay, yes.
The party's almost over for these parrots.
Oh,
I know. I've watched several documentaries about their struggle to try to find a female and to try to, get this population to breed. And they basically took all of these parrots and put them on a couple of islands that are separate from, that are uninhabited, and there's no predators on them. And that's where they live, or on these two conservation islands that nobody is allowed to go to except the scientists.
So they're trying to give them an island party to reignite the party in them, so there's more party parrots.
Yes.
Nice.
So anyway, this game is about that. It's about the parrots and about the wish to conserve their remaining numbers. And there are 3 different biomes. There's the forest, the beach, and the city, and there's 8 levels per biome. The city was actually really, really hard because there's cars coming at you and predators chasing you and all kinds of obstacles to jump over or slide under. And the very, very last stage was a prolonged predator stampede on a pier while you're trying to get to a sailboat with the rest of the Kakapo and jump on there and then sail off into the sunset. And it was very cute. But I don't know if the devs realized how stressful it is for a sincere animal lover to play this and then miss a Kakapo who is waving for you to pick him up and save him while you're running. You don't know how bad I felt every time I missed one of them when I was running. I'm like, no, I have to save the Kakapo. It's like the worst. And then anytime I died, it was very upsetting to me,
Yeah.
Because you play a Kakapo, you're running. You're a running Kakapo. So, yeah. But anyway, I finished that game. It was very cute. It is free, 100% free. Absolutely recommend it. It's very cute.
Nice.
And it has conservationist information that you can learn all about Kakapo.
Yeah.
So,
an endless runner with an end.
Yeah, there's an end to the Endless Runner. It's a very cute ending where they all go sailing off into the sunset.
That's grim.
They sail off and they're going to their islands is the thing. They're leaving the city with all of its perils behind and going to their little island.
Okay, cool.
So,
they're going to Fire Island, dude. It'll be fun. Yeah.
I'd rather they didn't get cooked.
No.
No.
Anyway. Okay, I've got a couple more games that I've been playing and I'd really like to talk about them. So I'm going to try to breeze through this next one. This is the Zodiac speaking. It's a first-person adventure game released in 2020, developed by Punch Punk Games for Switch, Windows, and Mac, Xbox One, and PS4. This was published by Clubator, who also published We the Revolution, that French Revolution game I was playing a while back.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I was like, oh, well, this looks kind of interesting. In this game, you're playing Robert Hartnell, who's an investigative journalist who's trying to uncover the identity of the Zodiac killer. You are in direct contact with the Zodiac, who for some reason has respect for and interest in you above other journalists and wants you to represent what he's doing correctly to share his vision. It has really good art design and, you know, decent voice acting, and the sound design is pretty good. It's meant to be a horror mystery thriller with stealth sections and a detective mode. But unfortunately, although the premise is really exciting and the love and the care put into the research for the actual Zodiac killer is absolutely evident, there's a lot of translation tidbits that pull you out of the game.
Ooh.
The killer's motivations for talking to the journalist, for what I saw anyway, are really, really weak. And then the main character is kind of just stock. He's just like very unremarkable, not really all that interesting. He's well voice acted, but he's not that interesting of a character. He's just pretty, you know, hey, it's an investigative journalist in a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's going to be like, you know? Like,
I wonder if he has his own demons that he's trying to work through.
Exactly. So, and then the stealth sections are just basically crouching out of the killer's cone of vision and then pushing some buttons. It's not that great. It feels really clunky to control just walking around examining stuff. And it's apparently buggy, although I didn't encounter any bugs myself. It also is pretty repetitious in what you're doing from chapter to chapter. Like it's very repetitive. Basically, you explore a level to find objects and clues related to the Zodiac murdering somebody. For example, you find a dumpster where he threw away a disguise, and then you find a can of kerosene and a lighter to show that he burned his clothes before he left. Once you find all the little clues, you have a series of events that you have to piece together to uncover what happened. And then the Zodiac narrates the sequence, and then he leaves a cipher for you to find. And that's exactly what happens every single chapter. Okay. So it's super repetitive on that loop. There is a story mode. So you can play it without having to worry about the clunky controls and the kind of having to hide from the Zodiac killer and everything. But since this is meant to be a horror mystery title, playing story mode, I think, would just take a lot away from it. It would just make it, okay, you're basically trying to be a detective, you know?
Just takes the stakes away. Yeah.
Yeah, because the serial killer mode is the one where the Zodiac is hunting you down on the map. Yeah. So, which doesn't make any sense if he's trying to have you uncover the truth of what he's doing. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. He doesn't really have clear motivations. So
he's fickle, that Zodiac.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I'm not really sure if I want to go back to it and give it another chance. I just kind of stopped at some point when I was playing, and he caught me, and I was like, you know, he kills me, and then I was like, that is my canon ending. I died. The Zodiac got me. He never got uncovered. You know, that's actually what happened in life. You know, he never was exposed. So, you know.
And then he went on to be a senator from Texas.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I'd recommend.
That is something I noticed about the trailer. Is like, I thought the entire like mystique about the Zodiac killer is like you never see him, you only like hear him, and then if you were to see him, that's a big deal, and that's like the climax. But like here, like the stealth missions where it's like, oh, there he is walking with the crowbar. Guess I'm gonna hide here. It's like kind of takes the air out of the sails a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like if people are curious about this, I would recommend that you just watch a little bit of a Let's Play and then just see it. You don't need to buy it and play it. You really don't. I don't feel. It's just there were a lot of people who were kind of like me, where they're like, oh, the premise sounds like this might be really fun to play. Oh,
yeah.
So that's about how I.
What kind of puzzles do you do? Like, is there any code cracking? Like,
there's like ciphers you're supposed to be picking up, and I don't know if there's a part later on where you have to crack that code or anything. I have no idea. I did not get that far. I played through some of it. I was on board for like a chapter, and then I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's the game I want to play, is just like doing ciphers for hours on it.
Yeah. It was just So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and cover that and talk about it because I did play some of it, and I would not recommend it. And because there are a lot of folks who listen to this podcast who have similar interests, I figured I would give them a warning not to play that one.
Yeah, steer clear.
Yeah, steer clear of that one. Okay, I've got one more, and this is the one I'm excited about. So, okay. Right, Vampire the Masquerade: Coteries of New York. This is a visual novel adventure game developed and published by Draw Distance, released in December of 2019. It's on PS4, Switch, Xbox One, Windows, Linux, and Mac. It is set in Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition after the Second Inquisition. So I did not know about all of the Second Inquisition or any of that stuff until I had watched Kindred the Embraced, which was the old 90s vampire show, and did like a podcast on Monster Dear Monster about that. And then our resident Vampire the Masquerade / TTRPG pro, Tim, was telling us about, what changed in the Second Inquisition, because like in the 5th edition of Vampire the Masquerade, they kind of overhauled a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this game is set in that setting. And you have the choice to select one of 3 pre-made characters, all of which are unfortunately not very exciting to me. A Bruja with liberal political views, a Ventru corporate executive, or a Toreador tortured artist. And it's like, none of those sound real great. I don't know.
Do you play a Nosferatu hacker or a Malkavian who's just a little bit kooky?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, this game does have a Nosferatu, but it's a detective, and they have a Malkavian hacker. So, but those are not characters you get to play, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the choice between the characters that you pick is not very significant. It basically changes a few variables in the beginning of the game, but the overarching story does not veer off in any different direction. So you're like on a main plot, and like you have the ability to choose. At certain points, they allow you the ability to choose what you do with your evening among a set of options. But if you play through basically twice, you can get through all of those options and see all of the ends of each of those storylines. So you don't even have to play a full 3 times through.
That's good.
So the setup is you were turned into a vampire and your sire pieced out, leaving you there. And you're found by the sheriff of the Camarilla, who takes you to the prince and the council for judgment. And they're going to give you final death when one of the ladies, named Sophia Langley, speaks up for you and decides to take you under her wing as if she is your sire, thus sparing you from being killed. And in exchange, you are basically her indentured servant. So... she shows you around, gives you a haven, does some stuff, but she also requires you to do some stuff for her. So she suggests that you begin finding yourself allies and suggests some folks for you to look into. And all of them are way more interesting than any of your main characters. Right. You've got a Tremere blood sorcerer. You've got a Nosferatu detective. That guy is probably my favorite.
Right.
There's a Malkavian hacker. And then there's a Gangrel Feral. And the Gangrel Feral is actually a lot more interesting than it sounds, at least for me. Like, usually I hear that and I just, like, roll my eyes, like okay.
Oh, so there's
certain
werewolf.
people. Yeah, there's certain people who are really into that kind of a character, and they like to, like, they're the lone wolf person or whatever. Like, that makes me just really roll my eyes, because I've known quite a number of those type of people over the years, unfortunately. But, like, this character is not like that at all. She's actually very cool. So those are all fun and entertaining to go through and learn about all of these people who you can have in your coterie. And you also have several other situations crop up, and they basically seem to crop up no matter what your main character is, because like they force you down a certain path as the main thread of this narrative.
Right.
And I won't really go into detail about all of those so I don't spoil them, but they're really, really fun. And soon enough, in about a week of game time, you are in trouble with the Second Inquisition. You're mixing with different sects of anarchs and embroiled in different intrigues from your different chosen coterie members, some of which are like, the moment somebody finds out about it, you are in the deepest shit.
Yeah.
So it's really, really exciting. And you get to what is the crescendo of shit going wrong. And then right at the most pivotal moment for your character, you have like this big reveal, and then the game ends.
What? Is it like a sequel hook?
Well, yes, because the next year, right after that, the next year, they released Vampire the Masquerade Shadows of New York. However, in that game, you play a La Sombra after the fall of the Anarch leader at the end of the first game, and then you have a whole new set of characters to meet. And it's not a continuation. Actually, when I finished the game, it deleted the save data that I had. It just automatically wiped it because I'd seen the entire game, and it doesn't let you replay the very ending of it.
Weird.
So, because it auto saves. Okay, this is something else to say. It auto saves after every single line of text. So, you cannot go back. You cannot go back and save and then make a different choice. You have to go with whatever you're going. And the reason why they did that is because they were trying to take the Telltale kind of approach where your choices have significance and you can't recant on all of that. You have to just keep rolling forward with whatever it is that you've got. And they were going with the kind of Telltale approach. And I actually like that because it forces you to make a decision where it's maybe you don't like any of the choices and maybe you think, okay, this is the least terrible one. And then, you just kind of have to roll with it, Yeah.
The cynic in me is saying they're just doing that so you don't see how linear the game might be, perhaps in certain areas.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, it's only about 6 hours long, and so especially they do have a fast forward, text button. So if you replay it and you get to the points that are common ground between each playthrough, you can skip forward and just get to the parts where you hadn't seen a certain character or you hadn't seen that particular plot line play out. There are different ways that certain plot lines can play out without the overall game being really affected. So there are different choices within a particular thread that you can go through as well. So anyway, I will be, of course, playing the sequel. The writing in this game is good. I enjoyed it. I was really getting into it. I was really, I say the characters. A lot of the characters you don't like, but they're interesting. Mm-hmm. So I was interested in the different nuances of character because they all have a lot of depth, and it feels like I want to learn more about them. And I had not enough time at all to hang with these characters and learn about them. So yes, I want to play the next game and see if there's any characters returning at all. But then also it makes me also feel like they just did that to kind of set you up to want to just jump into, 5e and, start playing and then get, recruit Tim to be my DM, and run this game for me. Yeah. So anyway. Yeah.
So is this like D&D, where people RP within this world, and that's what the 5e is about?
Yes. Okay. World of Darkness universe is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. There are different settings. Vampire the Masquerade is one of those settings. So there's this, and then there's also another game, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, which is basically a text venture, and that is also on the Switch. There's another Vampire the Masquerade game. Night something or other. I forget. You're a courier.
Night Call or something like that.
Yeah, Night Call. There you go. And that one is you're a courier for the vampire lords or something. But that one is 100% text venture, and that one is not on Switch. It's on Steam, however. Mm-hmm. So I may eventually play that, but I really like to do that kind of thing in bed, laying there, chilling out. So But anyway, I do have Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, and Vampire the Masquerade, Shadows of New York, and I will be playing both of those. I do really like the art. I like the music. I like the writing. But like I said, I'm just mad that it was short, and then I didn't feel like I got as far as I wanted to get with some of these characters and learning about them and everything. I'm these are really cool, very dynamic characters that are very well realized, and I want to learn more about all of them, and they're all gone. It's oh no, some of them need to show back up. I'm really curious to see if any of them show up or if it's just 100% new characters in the next game. But if this is a series and they continue on with that, then after this Shadows of New York, which released last fall, then hopefully this fall there will be another one in the series, and then we can kind of get on from there with some more information. That's what I'm hoping, but I have no idea. I didn't actually look up to see if they are working on more of those. But
yeah. No, I'm happy to... Oh, go ahead.
Does this do more or less for New York themed vampire fiction than the 90s classic Vampire's Kiss? I'll take that as a yes.
I'm happy to hear that this is like more mechanically focused of a game like this. When I initially saw it, I was a little bit hesitant because it did look pretty like, I just kind of assumed it was going to be pretty linear. But the fact that you are like choosing who you're going to associate with and that is meaningful makes this seem more interesting to me.
Yeah, and to also comment, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, which I have not played yet, also is mostly a text venture with some back art, where this one has like some animations in the background and stuff that make it feel more like there's more stuff going on. But the Werewolf game, you actually have character sheets. This game you do not. So gotcha. You do have choices to make. You do have unseen meters, like, you know, your hunger. So, you know, before the beast comes out and makes you lose your mind and, you know, takes away some of your role-playing options if you have not fed enough. That kind of thing happens. But like, you know, for the most part, it's pretty fairly well simplified about like what your options are. But you do have lots of options on how to approach different scenarios. So, yep.
Nice. I'll also throw in the Vampire 5th edition source book is one of the most beautiful role-playing source books I've ever read. The art in that and like the layout work is phenomenal. And also, like, the story content stuff is good too. I'm just going to throw in a recommendation on that if you're looking for more in that universe.
Yeah, like I was thinking about possibly getting it just because like this game has triggered me to want to look at more vampire stuff, even if I'm not playing it necessarily. So.
You might find a PDF in your inbox, maybe.
Ooh, why? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious to look up and see like how deep the character creation is in this, like compared to D&D.
Yeah, well, I played Vampire for a bit, and Hunter and Aberrant from the World of Darkness back in the day, back when I was in high school and college. So, you know, this is one of the different settings that I did play in.
This has been around for a while, the vampire setting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm done. I promise. For now. I have other stuff, but I'm not going to talk about it. Somebody else talk.
Ben, you talk.
Yeah. So I got 3 games to talk about this week. A small one, a meaty one, and a handoff one.
Okay.
So small one is I had a virtual bachelor party over the weekend, and we played Modern Warfare 2 for old time's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah. That game still is good after 10 years. And it's still functional, quote unquote.
Did you play this on PC? Like how did you? Okay.
Yeah, we played it on PC through Steam. I think it was on sale for like $15 each, which probably is still worth it. I don't know if you've never played it before, but you can play online matches if you want. I did a little bit of like recon before to see like how feasible that was. You kind of have the same thing that you had there 10 years ago, where pretty toxic chat. In this case, there's more cheating. But then the other thing is like there's like maybe 1 or 2 parties of games going on at any given time.
Right.
So like if you play online, you like find a party and you're kind of rolling with that, you know, for the entire time that you play. We did not do that. Instead, we just did a private match, so you can just invite people and spin up your own game. And that seemed much better. Everyone was more or less on the same level. Like nobody had anything like unlocked or anything. So like the kill streaks that you have, everyone had like 3, 4, 5 for that instead of anything crazy like attack nuke or anything.
Right.
But it was fun. The only like hang up with it is displaying it. Discord doesn't know how to display it, which is fair because it is a 10-year-old game.
It is old,
but yeah. So if you try and like do a screen share, it's just like a black screen. But however, Steam, if you like click on your friend and say like watch game that they're playing or whatever, you can watch it through Steam. So interesting debugging for all those people who are going to play Modern Warfare 2 with friends later. Anyway, that was fun. One of the people who was watching and not playing took a screenshot of everyone as they were playing, and so you just see these like dead focused eyes, like with like tongues half sticking out.
That's not fair. You don't show somebody their own game face.
I liked it. I was a fan. But yeah, anyway, that was fun. Machine gun's really good if you haven't played that game in a while, because you just hold down the trigger and point in the general direction, and that usually takes care of it.
You used to play this really competitively. Like, did you find that it, like, did you fall back into it, or?
I was picking it up quickly relative to the people I was playing with, but I would not be equipped to like jump on a server and start playing with the people who are still playing it today. But yeah, no, I mean, it's still fun though. It is just like a really clean, polished game, and it has good like upgrade mechanics, and like it deserved the popularity that it did. It's unfortunate that kind of got morphed into a Madden type franchise that makes considerably less good games, it seems like, but whatever, who cares? I'm fine not playing those games, and if other people like them, that's cool too. So but yeah, so it was happy to go back to that and just play it for a couple hours with some friends. The other thing I'm happy about too is I'm probably gonna, like, every year from now on for my birthday party, just continue making it virtual, because it seems like I'm never gonna have a dense it's like my friends are spread out, so it's like that's the easiest way to do it. So I'm excited by the prospect of having people play that again once a year. I think that could be cool. But anyway, moving on from that, a big one that came out this last week is Subnautica Below Zero. Came out on Friday last week. Yeah, so I was excited that came out. It came at the right time. Like, I finally got done with my work project on like Wednesday, and then it was like Thursday night. I forget what I was doing staying up, but then I got an alert on my phone that's like, oh, Subnautica's out. And I was like, sweet. So I installed that and started playing that at like midnight, and I guess it was like maybe like 10 o'clock, weird time zone stuff from when it came out. But it's at the same time, it's completely new and it's completely the same. So it's like I'm kind of like having a hard time evaluating like how different it is, because like, especially when you open the game up, the main menu is the exact same layout as the original game, except it's like a different background. There's like it's like iceberg and like penguins and stuff like that, but it's still like an ocean shot at the horizon, and it still has like the same like UI layout where it's like report a bug, click here, like Subnautica news, click here, play the game, click here. And so but okay, so that's like maybe like the bad or unimpressive part. But when you like start up the game takes place on the same planet as the first game, except you are now on a pole of it. I'm not sure if it's the South or North Pole or whatever, but it's some pole of it where everything's more or less like frozen, and it's like completely different biomes. That's the part that's really good. They didn't reuse any of like the animals from the original game. It's like all new. All the biomes are new. The resources are the same, but the tech tree has been twerked. So it's like
twerked.
It's twerked.
Tree was twerked.
Well, all right. Isn't twerk? Isn't twerk a word before the dance? Tweaked? It's been tweaked.
You're thinking tweak,
yeah. Excuse me. You know, they shook up the tech tree and it bounced. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it's been tweaked. So they simplified some of the parts that seem to be like a good quality of life improvement. Example of this is like before, if you wanted to make purified water, I think you had to get a bladderfish, bleach, and a coral sample. Now you just need a bladderfish. Okay. Like, thank you.
Just squeeze that bad boy out.
No. Yeah. So there's a few things like that. There's also some like new tools that they give you. A lot of the stuff's like the same, but there's some new things. Like one of it's the scanning room was like OP in the first game, which is like when you start building a base, when you build a scanning room, and you unlock the HUD, you can see where everything is, like within the radius of the scanning room. And so like, and it literally puts it on the UI for you. So like, if you want to find where all the, rare copper is or something like that, you put that in the scanning room, and then like all these copper waypoints light up for you on the map.
Yeah.
And so it's like you rush to unlock that once you're like replaying like Subnautica or whatever, because it's like such a quality of life improvement. In this one, they kind of mitigated it where I haven't got to the base building feature yet, and I played it for about like maybe 10 hours. I don't know, maybe less. But they mitigated it by having this one tool where it will light up if something's near you, and it'll just have like a radar type dot, like where it's like there's a green dot like forward and to your right, and so you can kind of like swim towards it, and you know like where it is, but you don't know what height it's at, and so you can figure it out pretty easily though. But the range is like pretty small comparative to the scanning room, and it's battery operated, so you have to like replace that as you keep using it. But that's kind of like what they use to mitigate like the scanning room from being able to unlock it early on. So there's some like weird tweaks that they made to it. A huge quality of life improvement is like pretty early on in the game, they give you a map that you can look at of like what the area looks like, at least from like a geological perspective. So at least you have some idea of like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where my base is. This is like the general topology of this land. So like, let me go explore this area if I want to, or something like that. So perhaps some people don't like that, I guess. And the first game, they did not give you a map at all. And there was some value to that where it's like, you're just exploring everything and there's like a lot to discover. I kind of like it this way a little bit better. Because you're still exploring for sure. I mean, they do a good job of like the way they get you to get to certain points is like it's the same way where they'll have like a AI like be like, hey, there's some sort of signal that appeared here. You should go check it out or something like that. They'll give a better reason like in game. But that's so it's basically the same as what it was the first time. But other than that, you're just exploring biomes that are around you. So it's very like self-motivated where it's like, I think I want to explore here and see if there's any resources here. You go, you figure it out, and you're like, oh, there's copper here. This is great. I'm going to come back here later. So that sense of like discovery is there, and it's fresh, this time since like Subnautica, the first game, is like completely explored at this point, So it's cool to have that experience again. They've also done a good job of putting more of like a narrative story in this. It's not to badmouth Subnautica because Subnautica was very, I guess, efficient with its use of story in the first game. They told a really good story and they did it with very few cutscenes. But the cutscenes that they had were done very well because, they had basically like a limited amount of budget. It seems like that what they were working with in order to tell the story. Here it seems like they have like a bigger budget for it, where it's like there's like not a quick time event, but like you're walking and then it blends into a cutscene of something happening. So like a Uncharted event or something like that. And they have that like pretty early on to kind of like establish like another character in the world. Like directly instead of don't think they had anything like that in the first game where you like interacting with another character. So so already that's like cool, and that's an improvement in the expansion. What else? They kind of give you like 4 or 5 things that you need to investigate, I guess, early on too, like around the world. But you can kind of go explore them in any order. There are a couple biomes that I've passed by that are kind of like oh shit biomes, where it's like you hear something like screaming at you, and then you're like, all right, I'm just going to keep going in the straight line. Hopefully they're not going to catch me and murder me. I think I'm okay. I haven't really gone to any great depth right now, though. I kind of got stuck also pretty early on. Besides the 4 or 5 things to look into, one of the waypoints they give you early on is like just like 200 meters down. From a certain point, and it's like, well, I can go to 100 meters, and then my oxygen goes really quickly, so I'm not going to make it to 200. And the closest I got to it is after I built the like I don't know what it's called, like the jet ski, not the jet ski, but like the thing that you hold on to that makes you go faster. The little
the dingus that'll drag you behind it.
Yeah. So once I built the dingus, I was able to get to 200 meters and come back up, but I got to the point where you go there, but then you need to like explore around. So it's like I need like a vehicle or something else. I need more tech before I can actually like figure out where to go from there. I haven't unlocked it yet, but I think I know what they're gonna do with base building in this game. So I will speculate on it. They show you, because a lot of times what they do is they'll show you tech, but you still need to collect blueprints to actually unlock it. And so I have something, but I haven't found any blueprints for, but it's called like a sea truck, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And so the way I think it works in this game is you build a mobile base. So you basically like drive your base around, which I think is a really good idea, because one of the friction points of the first game is you might go scout something that's like, figurative miles and miles away, and then you fill up all your inventory and it's like, all right, I got to go miles and miles back to my one base and like put stuff there, or I have to build these like satellite bases that don't really have much function outside of storage. And that part's kind of annoying. So if you take your entire base with you, that could be a sweet improvement.
Yeah.
Where you're never really like stranded away from it. Also, it might fix things on their end, because the idea of removing the ability for you to build a base anywhere probably improves like how they can handle like bases in their game. I guess you can like kind of like drive it anywhere, but maybe that's different. Because I know one of the problems in the first game is like you get a lot of clipping and like fishes like swimming through your base, and like that doesn't really make sense.
They have as much of a right to be there as you do.
Yeah, but they should respect physics a little bit.
It's your laws, not theirs.
Agree to disagree, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, so if that's the direction they go with it, that could be cool. But I definitely want to unlock base building, because I haven't unlocked it yet. Yeah. What else can I say about this game? The narrative is different than the first one, but it still seems interesting. The premise is you're investigating what happened to your sister on the planet. She was like a scientist working on the planet, and you lost contact with them. So it's more of like a personal narrative sort of thing. It's not like first one where
survive and get off the planet kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's not like Escape from New York narrative, I guess. It's right. I don't know. So yeah, what else can I say? Another thing that they invested more time in is trying to make more above ground features on the planet. In the first game, you kind of had like 3, and that's kind of what you're stuck with. There's like a ship and 2 mountains. And this one, it seems like there's probably like more like, I don't know, probably maybe like 3 as well, but they're more complex, or like there's more to them. But one of the things that's interesting that they made as a choice is there's a temperature mechanic in the game now, and so it's like an additional meter that wasn't in the original game. So there's a limited amount of time that you can spend above water, or you get too cold. And so you have to find a way to warm yourself up. And so there's like a couple different options that they give you. There's like geysers around a lot, or above ground, where if you stand next to them, you stay warm. There's some weird space plants that will heat you up if you walk near them. And then there's like fauna, like things you can eat that will warm you up, like peppers and stuff. Which is interesting. So they give you ways to tackle it. There's also like you can craft gear to try and deal with it as well. So it's good that they give you like a lot of different options to try and figure it out. But the thing I was thinking of is like I was curious if they were doing this as a way to. One of the problems with Subnautica, the original game, is if you get to like a high vantage point, you can kind of see how bare the above ground portion of the game is. Like you can see it's very much like a flat ocean texture, with not a lot to it. It seems like in this game, one of the benefits of choosing the environment they did is it's super gray and super foggy most of the time. And so there's like a really low draw distance that they have to do. And so I think that kind of improves like what they can show then. Like they don't have to render like the entire map of you looking out on it. And so they can kind of add more details. So like they also do a good job too, where there's like things like there's storms and weather events and stuff where it's like, oh, I'm dropping temperature really quick, I'm just going to jump down in the water and like evade this, but like it might hail, and then there's effects of like hails coming in at the top of the ocean. So there's like a lot of quality and life improvements there, or like cool special effects that they added. So anyway, kind of like going back to my original point, there's like a lot of things that are new about this game. Like the animals are new, the biomes are new, a lot of these effects are new meters and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's still like a very similar game to the normal one, where it's like, all right, I got to explore these things. I got to collect a bunch of resources. I'm going to build up a base from this, and I'm going to start going to scary biomes and feeling scared the entire time. So yeah, that part I don't think's changed, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you have ways to deal with the scary stuff that comes at you, or is it all evasion?
For the most part, since I'm staying above 100 meters, for the most part, it's just waiting until it's daytime, and then it's like well lit enough that it's not a thing. But eventually, like, I have no idea how deep the water goes or anything compared to the original game. So, but eventually, I'm sure you go so deep that the light doesn't hit, and then that's when it's like all spooky and stuff. So,
right.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Neat.
Yeah. So I'll keep playing it. It's tough to say like whether or not to recommend it. Like, I mean, if you like the first game, then yeah, go ahead. Why not play it? I guess even if you didn't play the first game, maybe this would be a better entry into it. I'm not sure. I don't know if this one's better than the first one as far as like if someone is playing it fresh for the first time. But I think like one of the things is, since it's so similar to a gameplay experience as the first game, there's kind of diminishing returns with it, where it's like, this game's not going to blow me away the same way that the first game did the first time that I played it. But I'm happy playing it. So, it's, like the idea of like exploring new areas is cool. So I like that aspect.
I mean, it kind of seems like it's made specifically for your use case, which would be that, like, yeah, you played and liked the original Subnautica a long time ago, and it's been just long enough that like it will feel fresh, even if it is very obviously like an expansion pack kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I think one more thing, I'll probably stop talking about this soon, but one more thing I was curious what they did is the minerals are like much more deliberately placed in the expansion than in the first game. In the first game, it was basically like find a biome and then new things will be in that biome, whether it's like new types of blueprints or new resources or something, but just explore that biome when you get there or something. And this one, it's like very particular. There's like one feature that they have, which I think was maybe not the best way implemented, where there's sections where it looks like you should be able to crouch to like crawl into a space. But every time I saw this, I would check my controls and be like, all right, what's the crouch button? C's not working. And there's no crouch button. So you're like, okay. You later find out that there's like a game mechanic way to get through there. And so once you do, you realize that a lot of the rare resources are in these areas. Okay. Like, so that's where you can find like magnetite. That's where you can find like diamonds and stuff like that. And so I don't think that's a better gameplay way of like unlocking resources. I don't really feel as like rewarded for exploration when I do that sort of thing. It feels like I'm kind of running through a laundry list of places I need to go to get these resources. Because like I remember in the first game where when you find magnetite, it's in this like underground mushroom cave that's like gorgeous looking, but also like very dangerous. And it's like, oh, sweet, this is like a really awesome resource. I'm so glad I found this thing that was pretty well hidden. You don't have that same sort of impact when you get the resources doing this mechanic that they've introduced in this game. It's weird. And then the other part of that too is, so I, got all these rare resources, but I can't actually build the things I want to build because I need the habitat builder, which I haven't unlocked yet. And so that's kind of like a bummer as well. Yeah. I think I'm gated by some sort of probably story event. So I probably need to go to like one of the 4 or 5 things I was talking about that I need to investigate, or the thing that's like 200 meters deep. So I got to figure out how to get there. But yeah. Anyway, Subnautica is gonna Subnautica. So that's
nice.
It's behaving very much how a Subnautica game should, I guess. So
it sounds like a meaty expansion if you played for like 10 hours and you haven't gotten to the base building part.
Yeah, it's for sure not like a tacked on like DLC sort of thing. It's like a 1.5 type game, I would say, where it's like it's pretty much its own game, but like if the game were only like 15 hours, then I wouldn't feel bad about it, I guess. Yeah. It seems like it would be its own standalone game at that point. It feels like a standalone game.
Nice.
So yeah. And then, and props to them for, like actually due diligence and not like recycling areas, and like not recycling creatures and stuff. Like they actually went through the work and created like a whole new ecosystem, and all the animals like have new traits and new things that you have to kind of play around. One example is there's a creature called like a sea monkey that's really adorable, and it will lock the camera in a cute way and not a scary way, like a Reaper from the first game, and it'll take whatever item you have in your hand and then like run away with it, but you can chase it and grab it back. But it's like a cool way to kind of subvert the mechanics of the first game.
Nice.
Yeah, good times.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Do you guys have any questions about it?
No.
It's making me wish that I played more of the original so I could ask more questions about the differences.
Yeah, the original probably still good. I don't know. It's tough. You can't play that game for the first time after you played it once, which is like a shame. Like, because you already know what's there. You know what I mean? And so the
furthest that I got in it was like I made it over to the big like spaceship that crashed. Because it was giving me the countdown, like, hey, this is going to explode, et cetera, and like I think that maybe I tried to approach like exploring it in the wrong way, because I ended up just like kind of just walking over the like a glitchy surface on it and not really getting to it, like not seeing anything of interest. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? I got confused, and then I stopped. The reason I stop every game, which is to play something for homework.
How far into the game were you when you were trying to explore the ship?
Pretty early on.
All right, so mild spoilers. The ship explodes, and then you can explore it. I don't know, but if you tried exploring it before it exploded, I don't know to what degree you can do that.
No, that makes sense.
All right. Sorry if anybody is hurt by that spoiler.
I mean, it's a 6-year-old game now.
So. Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Cool.
What else?
Last game to talk about is It Takes Two, which I played with you, which I almost said It Takes You.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we played this for maybe like 3 or 4 hours yesterday. I think we're probably, it seems like this is our third sitting, right? I think.
Yeah, this is our third sitting. I took a look. We're probably going to finish it next week.
Yeah. It seems like each time we've played, we've done like a quarter of the game. Yeah. So it's like a 12-hour game, it looks like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so in yesterday's playthrough, I think we did 3 different sections or 2 different sections.
I think we did 2. We did the, what was it?
Clock.
Yes. The clock and clone one. Yeah.
And snow.
Yes. With the magnets. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then we did 2 sections, and we got 2 pages. Right now, the narrative is we're looking for 4 MacGuffins. And so we have gotten 2 of the 4 MacGuffins.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
And then presumably the game will end or have some sort of resolution by the time we get all 4 MacGuffins.
Maybe.
Hooray for MacGuffins.
If that damn book will let us just die.
Yeah, dude. Book continues to be an asshole. The thing that kind of emerged from our playthrough this week was kind of how bad the messaging of the game is.
It's pretty bad.
And this was slightly informed by an interview I saw the game director over the weekend, but the game is telling you that it doesn't matter what your marital issue is, you can fix it if you are attracted to one another.
Yeah.
Or
like
what?
I mean, in that interview, like, what was it? He was asked, like, go ahead.
He was asked, would it repair people's relationships if they played the game? And he was like, yeah. It's like, oh
no, dude.
Wow.
No.
Oh wow.
No.
Wow, that's a little misguided.
Yeah. And then I have no idea how it's ending, but like the entire perspective of the game so far, I mean, A is if your marriage isn't working, both of you aren't trying hard enough. And B, divorce is always bad no matter what, which is like, I don't know. I've never been married. Divorce seems kind of cool as an option to have.
especially in like domestic abuse situations. Like you're not gonna, like, you can't repair that, you know, like you shouldn't even try and repair that,
and like the only like problem that these two people have, there's no like external, you know, there's no money worries, there's no, you know, there's like there's nothing besides the fact that they are just jerks. Well, like they're different ways, like there's nothing external besides just like their attitude problems.
They do specify like money being an issue at a few points where it's like, I have to work to pay the bills sort of thing. But I think the problem from my perspective is like they establish early on, like and I was mentioning this, it's kind of like reverse the stereotypical gender roles where the woman's always at work and the dad is at home and feels like he's missing out on the relationship because he never gets to spend time. And so they establish that early on, but the problem is they never really develop it beyond that point. And so that's just the narrative and that's it. And so, you know, there's never any other issues that come up as problems between them besides that so far. Like I thought at some point it would elaborate and there'd be like deeper underlying issues where it's like, oh, you never respected me, or like you didn't allow me to do this sort of thing, or whatever.
Or like, oh, you're envious that I have this professional success and you feel like you're like waiting behind. But instead it goes down to like, oh, we got this house so you could make a garden, and then you didn't make the garden. Well, you didn't encourage me. It's like really petty.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that part hasn't been great, but the gameplay itself is still fun.
I kind of felt like the last two like sets of gimmicks that we had like were a little bit running out of steam. They didn't feel as like dynamic as some of the earlier stuff, but that could just be like a pacing concern more than anything.
So yeah, let's go over the mechanics. So you're talking about the both sets of mechanics we played yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one we played, they narratively try and like shoehorn this in there. Like, you feel like you should always be two places at once, and you feel like you can't control time and it goes by too quickly or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the gameplay mechanics are one person can clone themselves in an area that they can like snap back to very quickly. And the other person is like has a watch that they can rewind time, but in very particular things. So like not on a global sense, but like you can rewind the statue so that it rebuilds instead of falling apart or something like that.
Yes.
So I think the air was kind of taken out of the time mechanic. I kind of expected more from it since a lot of games have already done this sort of mechanic, but on a more like global sense.
Yeah.
This was kind of a very quick way to do it. I mean, that said, there were a lot of like cool presentation things that they did with it. And I guess there were a few good uses of like making it interesting, or a few good puzzle mechanics with it.
A few,
yeah.
The cloning thing was not like it also, I mean, other games have played into that. I don't know how complicated they could make it because it's one of like hundreds of other mechanics that they've had in it, and it needs to work in these co-op puzzles. But like, it really was more like, oh, you're like bookmarking a place in the world that you can jump back to. Right. So like there's a wall that's advancing and like, oh God, it's going to crush us. And you can lay down a clone point. And then when the wall gets past where that clone point is, instead of you being crushed, you can bloop to the other side and then turn off the crusher, like that kind of thing, you know, like as an example of a puzzle in there. It's a bunch of stuff like that. And like, we need to perform this thing in a particular order. And I need to be able to make my way up there after you make your way, but the path will be destroyed when you go up there. So I'll run up first, bookmark it, come down, hold the path open for you. You go up, and then I warp up after you, like that. And that's about as complicated as it got. Yeah,
maybe despite that though, like the setting is like gorgeous.
Oh
like,
yeah, you're inside of a cuckoo clock. It's great.
Yeah. So like the art style in the game I think is really, really good. The variety of game mechanics, like even so we're talking about kind of like the gimmick puzzle mechanic in each area, but like still the variety of like gameplay is still really good, where it's like you go from, this like a puzzle to a boss fight to a quick time event, sort of like falling action like game, and it's all like very seamless. And the like again, I can't say enough for like the environment and how you interact with the environment, like the spiral gear that can turn into a pathway that you can run on as one person rotates it, like that's like all like very like breathtaking. And then that has like a high degree of polish to it. That's very impressive.
Yeah. This is, I mean, I don't play too many of these games. We've done a handful of them for WoW. Like, this is probably one of my favorite 3D platformers that I've played.
Yeah. And this was something that the game designer said too, that he was really proud of, is like the polish across the game, like on all the different game mechanics that they have. And I do agree with that, where it's like, it hasn't felt cheap at any place, where it doesn't feel like any of the mechanics are like clunky and like under like half baked or anything like that. Like everything feels like nice as soon as you start to play it, which is good because there's so little like ramp up time for you to like figure out what you're doing, since it jumps from like gameplay set piece moment to gameplay set piece moment. But the kind of bread and butter of it, like grinding on rails or like the triple jump or whatever, like all that stuff feels really good, and is like well implemented. And the rope swinging or whatever. The mechanic of the other world we haven't mentioned yet is the snow world. Is each person's given a magnet, and they establish early on, it's kind of like the time travel trope in movies where they tell you just like, hey, just don't worry about it, like we don't care about the accuracy of this. They do the same thing with magnets, because it's a little like weird, where it's like they have a red blue type magnet that they split in half and give to each of you. And the way it works in the game is it's like basically like they're color coding magnets, I guess.
It's like the poles. Yeah, so it's red and blue. Like if the character who's holding the red magnet like points their magnet at a blue one, it will attract. It'll pull whatever that is. And if they point it at a red magnet point, it'll push it away.
And so what's cool is, since you guys have opposite colors, you're interacting with the world in an opposite way. So if there's an object like on the ground that's red, the person who has the red magnet, that'll be a booster for them. Like that'll shoot them upwards and they might be able to jump somewhere else. Whereas like the person in blue can jump to that point from anywhere. It's like an attractor. Yeah. And they do a decent job of like, fully exploring that mechanic. I think the only problem is it's like there's like maybe 1 to 2 hours of gameplay in it, and they kind of explore everything that you can do with it, and then there's still more gameplay kind of. And maybe the other thing that's like, again, this is kind of like faint criticism, because overall I still enjoy the game. On the snow one in particular, there's like, you do like 3 or 4 races like back to back, where you're like skiing and racing against one another.
That's what they put in instead of boss fights, because I don't know that they were able to figure out a fun cinematic way to do the boss fights. The
boss fight was like Journey, where you're climbing up a mountain and there's wind, and you're fighting against the wind. It's the boss fight of that section. So I mean, there's a few like pacing problems with that, maybe, where it wasn't as exciting as the other stuff. At the same time, it's like, okay, if you're going to sort your game and like you put your more exciting stuff in the front half as compared to the back half, since more people are going to play that, I guess I'm fine with that. I mean, like, ideally everything would be better, but
like it is not such a dip in like excitement that I am dreading playing it again. I'm pretty sure that like when we get to the end, it's gonna they're gonna have something else to leave you with a good impression.
Agreed. I assume that there will be some sort of grand finale sort of thing, but But yeah, I think overall, despite kind of the criticisms of things like the narrative having a very bad take on marriage and relationships, I still think it's like an enjoyable game. You still like, it's a really good cooperative game. Like, you're doing a really good job communicating with the other person you're playing with, and they have really good puzzle design where they're puzzles that force you to have to cooperate with one another. So I think all that's really good. Yeah,
I don't know that I have anything more to add on that, honestly. Like, I'm having a good time with it. I like remarked on it yesterday when we were playing, but like, something that is cool about it is like, yeah, you do end up having to communicate like explicitly, like, hey, all right, let's count 3, 2, 1 so that you can do X while I do Y, and I can proceed, right? Like there are times like that, but there are other times where like things go really smoothly because what you end up having is, because you're both trying to accomplish the same goal with a shared purpose and you understand your verbs, you just kind of do stuff automatically the way that it's designed, and then you have to like explicitly collaborate on the tough stuff.
And it's kind of like a compliment insult here, where it's like, the mechanic you're talking about with the countdown or whatever was a really cool emergent gameplay from like that mechanic, where it's like if both you can attract to one another at the end of the stage, where it's like so I can like lock onto the other person, and like either I can jump on their back or they can jump on my back, or you can do it at the same time and you both move and meet in the middle. That's a great mechanic, because that references what's going on narratively, kind of. But they don't really explore it too much. I think there's like 2 puzzles that use that mechanic, and it's the same puzzle.
What I wish they had, I wish that they would have just gone in and stolen wholesale the nonverbal communication tools from Portal 2 co-op. Where like where you can like put down like ping things, or like you can put up a little like in-game countdown. So that you do stuff at the same time, as opposed to relying on Discord, voice chat lag, and also the lag in the game. So like when you like when we would say 3, 2, 1, go, I would always do whatever I was going to do on 1, because that would get me like
the delay.
That would offset for the lag.
And that was something that was more apparent on this last time we played through, was that there's like more desync than usual, and it could have just been like a bad internet connection or something, or a one-off. But I also like don't know what it takes like tech side for how to like keep the game synced between 2 players and not to have drift. The only familiarity I have with like how games do that is like I heard explanation of how they do that in like Rocket League, and that seemed like hard enough, and that's like a very small sphere of influence. So having them have to do that in this entire game with like all these different mechanics and all these different like spaces, I don't it seems like that would be a very hard task. So
it's really impressive that it worked as well as it did for as long as it did for us. Super impressive game.
I'll be happy to finish it off, I think, with one more session. So
cool.
So I mean, that's pretty much all I've been playing too. I mean, other than like homework stuff, but it was like It Takes Two and then like pinball, but I don't know enough about pinball to like say like, oh yeah, here's what I learned about the Nightmare on Elm Street table. I like what I learned is it's a fun table. It's good. Monster Bash is still really good. Medieval Madness, fucking great. That was about it. Are these like modeled after like actual pinball machines? No. Like when I went to
these are actual pinball tables.
Yeah, when I went to the arcade.
Sorry. Lateral thinking switch is not with me.
No, I went to a physical place to play these games, but like other than saying, God, it feels good to play pinball again. I don't have much more to say on top of that. So I think
Medieval Madness was like the 3D one, right? Or no?
3D?
Am I miss?
No,
I never mind.
Yeah, they're I think you're thinking of Black Knight 3, which has like the 3D display on it. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's the end of that segment for me. Multiplayer. Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Jala, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
I said, pick a character from the last video game that you played. Congrats, they're now your roommate. What are the pros and cons of your new living situation?
Yeah, and I'll get us started here with Greg, who says, I'm playing the Mass Effect collection, so that would be Shepard. Pros, clean, quiet, organize. We'll get shit done without you needing to worry about it. Cons, never know how to answer his questions because he might go Paragon or Renegade on you, and he carries firearms at all times. Also con, a cop. Yeah. Let's see. Ben, how about what's Ollie say?
Ollie says, I just played original Tomb Raider on PS1, so I guess Lara Croft is my roommate now. Pros, she's rarely home. She keeps lots of cool stuff. She tells super interesting stories. She won't ever mooch cash from me. Cons, constant worry my dog might make the endangered animal list. Every time I look at her, we'll be reminded of Kole Ross saying, sweater meat? On Watch Out for Fireballs on Tomb Raider. Chilling.
Yeah, I think that sounds like me. Yeah. No. And if it's the PS1 one, you have to worry about those sharp boobs.
Sure.
Yeah, little pyramids. Jala, what does Sean say?
Sean says, been playing the original Gears of War. Really can't say I would want any of the cast as a roommate, but I guess Marcus Phoenix would be the one. Pros, plenty of protein shake and meat to bulk up and sustain muscle. Cons, constant grunting, shouting, and foul language. Let's not forget the meat farts, which would no doubt be guaranteed.
Yeah. He'd help you deal with your bug problems. Let's see here. Jeremy has a similar answer saying, I finished playing Gears Tactics last night. No matter who you pick, that's pretty much all con and no pro. Yeah. Ben, what does Rob say?
Rob says, going to have to spend most of my time in my bedroom. The creeper from Minecraft has a tendency to blow up over any little thing, so it's best if I just keep my distance.
That gives you a warning, though.
Yep. It'd be nice to wake up to in the middle of the
night. Jala, what does Eli say?
Eli says, Stardew Valley. Honestly, one of my best friends is already a lot like Shane, so I figure I could handle living with him. Pro, until he goes sober, I've always got a drinking buddy. Plus, he and I could start raising cows and chickens. Also, he's a sweet boy. Con, the emotional weight of living with somebody who is depressed. Even with medication and therapy, there's going to be bad days.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. Christopher writes, great. I got Ethan from Resident Evil 8 then, being all bland and getting mold all over the place, and me having to tiptoe around to try not to break his collection of crystallized body parts. Plus, he'll constantly be like, what the hell's going on here? And I'll be like, just watching a movie again? And then you'll be all like, hey, Ethan, can you give me a hand here? And then he'll look at you and you'll be like, oh, sorry, bro. That was me. That was my addition. Chris didn't say that. Give me a hand here.
Yeah.
Ben, rescue me. What does John say?
John says, well, I guess my character from Demon's Souls is my roommate. Not much of a conversationalist.
I mean, it's just a character from the game, so you could have Patches. Patches is a jerk who always betrays you in every game.
That sounds very exciting. You should have that guy for sure as a roommate.
He'll pay rent.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Jello, what does Gwen say?
Gwen says, Isaac, did you cry on my bed sheets again? We talked about this, bud. No, Isaac, get out of the box. Isaac, you can't solve all your problems by hiding in there.
I'm not going to talk to the police again about this. Oh, God, living with a literal baby. No.
Whoa.
No. Alex says, being roommates with the Death Stranding guy would probably be okay. Low maintenance, gone for days at a time. He just comes back incredibly crusty and smelly. Plus, he can't be permanently killed, so you know he's good for the rent. Yeah, solid job.
Yeah, he's gainfully employed. Mm-hmm. Job security.
Yeah. Quiet, keeps his distance.
Has a weird baby with him, though. That could be a problem.
Oh, BB's fine. He's a sweet kid.
He also drinks his urine. That's a little bit weird.
Well, at least he won't be peeing in the sink.
More than a little weird, but you know.
He's in the shower, though.
Yeah. Okay.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't pee. He pees in the shower because the literal toilet is in there. It's not like he does it while he's showering. It's just that's the way that they set up their weird little future room. He'd be fine. Okay. Sam would be fine.
Okay.
Let's see here. Is this going to be
Case says, My new roommate would be Shipbreaker from Hard Space Shipbreaker. So on the plus side, lots of cool furniture and doodads from my ships. They break. And no problem paying rent. Downside is sometimes they die horrifically in space, and a new clone of them moves in to replace them.
Again, you just always have somebody there ready to take care of it.
Everyone's like rent focused with this question.
I mean,
for sure. It's like, I think a lot of people have been burned by ex-roommates.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Sounds like it for sure.
Jala, what does Luce say?
Luce says, my new roommate is some pilot from Star Wars Squadrons. Can't wait for them to see all the dirty dishes in the sink and do the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least you know they're home. Let's see. Callum says, the protagonist from Subnautica. Really handy at fixing stuff, but keeps racking up the bills. Yeah. Keeps on trying to fill the house with water to make it more like his natural environment. Ben, what does Austin say?
Austin says, I get to live with Vivian from TTYD. What is TTYD?
The Thousand Year Door.
Okay.
Paper Mario game.
Oh, okay, gotcha. The only con is having to deal with her mean sister on the occasional visit, and the pros are too many to list.
I forget. I think Vivian is the Goombette. TTYD, Vivian. Let me see here. Which one is this? Which one? Oh, she's like a ghost. She's a shadow. Okay, cool. Let's see. Jala, what does David say?
David says, Sister Janessa from Mortal Shell just moved in. All the divine tar a man could drink. The downside is that headpiece she's wearing will probably knock stuff off shelves, knock on ceiling fans, pull down curtains, etc.
Yeah. And because she has transcended death, she will always be there to pay rent.
The rent, of course.
Yeah. Just keeping the theme going.
Yeah.
Corbin says, well, I'd have Tally from the Mass Effect Legendary collection. Pros, really good when the fridge goes on the fritz. Cons, I'd have to keep the place way cleaner than I'm used to. Oh, her suit deals with that. It's fine. Tally's great. I never ended up having a lot of room for her in my party, but she was always one of my favorites to talk to.
Yeah, having a space face is pretty sweet.
They changed her face in the remakes. Let's see. Ben, what does Thomas say?
Zacharias keeps suddenly dying, so I have the place to myself most of the time. Every time it happens, he gets carried back to the underworld by a river of blood, which gets everywhere and never stops creeping me out. The landlord wasn't happy about having to install tile floors on account of the flaming feet thing, but Zacharias returning from the underworld with bags of precious gems does pay for all the renovations. Nice.
Yeah. Jala, what does Patrick say?
Patrick says, I've been playing a ton of Final Fantasy XIV. Since the majority of players play the male Mikote cat boys, I figure that's my roommate. Cons, he's a human-sized cat, so I expect human-sized cat hairballs. Pros, I can leave just any tool around, and he can pick it up and be a master of the job. Need metal work done? Leave some blacksmith tools. Want new furniture? Leave some woodworking tools. New clothes? Weaver tools. And then, when I get injured on something, just leave a rod and let him be a white mage to heal me.
Take advantage of the multi-classing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll run this out here with Rookie, who says, I've been playing Subnautica, so my roommate would be the protagonist. He or she would make a surprisingly good roommate. Pros, I'll never need a handyman again. Anything that breaks can be repaired with one tool or replaced by picking up and combining the local garbage. Self-filling scuba tanks save money every time you go diving. A silent protagonist means plenty of peace and quiet around the house. No clutter. Everything has its own wall locker. And if you get more stuff, just use the new stuff to make a new locker. And remodeling is free, easy, and quick. Cons, the thermal knives are a fire hazard, is a poor dive buddy because you will get the bends if you try and keep up with them. And finally, very difficult to get a good night's sleep when your roommate literally never sleeps. Yeah. And they're always dragging a bunch of dangerous fish back to you. Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. Last game I played was Phoenix Wright Justice for All. I'm not going to take Francisca because that seems like a fucking nightmare. So let's take Maya. Pro.
As long as it's not the clown.
God, that fucking clown. Larry, come on. Yeah, I'll take Maya. Very considerate, very tidy. As the pro. Con, she'll eat all my hamburgers.
Yes, she will.
Yeah.
Or ramen, I think, is what it was in Japan, right?
I think so. Yeah. Ben, how about you?
Last game I played was It Takes Two. So my roommate is my wife that I'm getting a divorce with. So pros. we're getting a divorce, and that's healthy to do in some situations.
Right.
Cons is this is like a very non-joke answer. It's a very realistic situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There's just tense all around. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jala.
So Bub and Bob are very cute and friendly, but they can sometimes crowd the place with bubbles, and I don't have any spines to pop them easily. But we always have a lot of food, so no worries about inflation.
Yeah, except for the inflation of the bubbles.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that was a fun question, Jala.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for posting that. If you would like to participate in these, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast. Watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. Thank you to everybody who wrote in.
The End Boss.
Now it is time for the End Boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to you, exciting to us. Jala, what's your story here?
Well, I got a couple. The first one is just a blurb. So the PC port of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is in the works and coming out later this year, according to Black Isle Studios, who tweeted about it at some juncture.
Nice.
So, yay! Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is fun, and they're hoping that it has online co-op using Steam's Remote Play, but we will see how that goes. They say hoping, they do not say it will have it. So.
Yeah.
Of course, I have my original copy on the game system. I still have the game system and the copy, so I can still play it at home.
Yeah.
But,
apparently the remake is really faithful, is what I've heard.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's one little blurb. The other little blurb is one of Cole's favorite things, which is, hey, a thing's coming out, which is the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is available right now for pre-order on Switch. It bundles two previously Japan-exclusive 3DS games, Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2. And it comes out on my birthday, and I have pre-ordered it.
Nice.
And the early order bonus includes additional music for the auditorium and additional art for the gallery. So it's not that exciting unless you're like a big nerd for that kind of stuff. So, but I'm pre-ordering it so that I don't forget and so that I get a gift on my birthday and be like, yay, I got a game that I'm not going to play today, but I have it. So
Thank you, past me. Yeah.
Yay.
I'm super excited. I did not expect that this would ever come out over here.
It's got the two games that have 10 cases total, 5 per game, plus 8 slice of life episodes called Escapades. And the games follow the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, who is an ancestor to Ryurichi Naruhodo, or Phoenix Wright. And the ancestor is in both Victorian London as well as Meiji era Japan. The gameplay is similar to the original trilogy with investigations and trials, but you also have to convince individual members of the jury as you make your case in court. And there's apparently also a connecting, overarching mystery between the two games. These titles also have a story mode, letting you play the game without the puzzles and court performance, but that's a lot of the fun of the game, so I don't know why you would do that. But if you wanted to, you could do that just to take the pressure out of it. There's also 2 audio tracks, so you can choose English or Japanese voiceover. I am sure, Kole, that you will play with English, and I am sure that I will play with Japanese.
It depends. It depends on how the English sounds. I don't know.
I don't know. Like I just cannot. I get more out of the Japanese version. So for me personally, that's my preference. But there will also be a release digitally called the Ace Attorney Turnabout Collection that has the Ace Attorney trilogy as well as the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So it will have 5 games total. The first 3, and then the Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2. So.
Leaving Apollo Justice, Dual Destinies, and Spirits of Justice Man, just
and also all
wallowing
of
on
the
3DS.
spin-offs.
Yeah.
So
maybe eventually, maybe someday.
Yeah, I still have my 3DS, so I don't have
Mm-hmm.
a problem eventually getting those on said device. So that's fine.
Yeah, nice. I'm super excited. July will get here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of, I also have Resident Evil 8. I mentioned that.
Oh, cool.
But like my computer has finally reached the point where I need to get some parts to upgrade it. Finally. I was able to play all of the last several games, all like the remakes and stuff. I have no problem with those. But like just Resident Evil 8, finally, I need to upgrade my video card. I've had this computer since 2012 and I've never had to upgrade it.
Nice.
So like when I built it to last. So,
I'm in the same camp. I'm waiting to get a PS5 if that ever happens ever. So.
Well, the good news for me is that I can still play the game because Dave's laptop is a newer laptop and it's a gaming laptop. So I can play it on his device and just hook my monitors up to it. But that means I can't stream or anything because all of the streaming stuff is on my computer and we're just going to be using my monitors for that. So, and that also means that I can't use mouse and keyboard for it. I was going to try to do it for this one just because I've heard some stuff about like the aiming with the controller being maybe a little wonky, but I don't know how true that is. But I was going to try it with mouse and keyboard, but oh well.
Yeah. So. Well, hopefully soon. It's a good game. You should play it.
Yeah. I will play it sometime.
Yeah. Ben, what's going on in the world of boutique, very expensive tabletop games?
Is this boutique?
I think that I just use that as a redundant synonym for expensive, which Gloomhaven is.
I see. I forget the price of Gloomhaven. Is it like in the 200 ballpark?
Yeah, I think it's about 200. If it's less than that, it's not very much less than that.
To be fair, it is like this
it's
game
gigantic.
I played Yeah, I played this game for like 80 some hours, and we were like maybe only a third of the way through it. So it's, I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
No, I should have called it costly, not expensive. The expense seems warranted. Regardless, it has a sequel coming.
Yeah, so the subject of the story is talking about the sequel to Gloomhaven. I think there's already been an expansion that's came out. I've not finished Gloomhaven nor played the expansion, but the next game, the sequel, is called Frosthaven, which I guess takes place in the same universe. It's being made by the same game developer. I think it's Chris Childress, or Isaac Childress, excuse me. But there's been an interesting development in the development of the game that this article is about. So he hired a cultural consultant for the board game to come in and do a few things as he's designing like the narrative of the board game. And the first, and it seems like the primary focus, is to make sure that any of the races in the game do not co-opt anything from a real life group of people in the world. This seems like a great idea.
That's awesome.
I'm thinking of episode 1, the Trade Federation, as an example of where this would have been a great idea.
Yeah. Maybe literally ask anybody about your thing.
Yeah. But he's hiring somebody on like as a person where their full-time job is to look at all the narrative in the game, do this, but then also make sure that the narrative is consistent amongst itself. And he kind of wrote and said a few things that he was talking about of kind of regrets he had with the design of the first Gloomhaven game, specifically stating that like the idea of giving like a blanket stats to an entire group, entire like race in the game. So, for example, I think I forget the name of the race that he calls out in particular. Here. All Enochs are proud and stubborn as like an example of something that was in like the first game, where like they have a certain stat for like dexterity or strength or something like that. And so like the idea is he wants like the narrative in the sequel to be more diverse than that, like having like race not be as defining of a characteristic of somebody's like abilities or stats, because that can kind of subconsciously carry over for somebody to like the real world and having that like false narrative. So I think it's cool that he's doing this sort of responsible thing. also had like a great response to where he said like, "You're more than welcome to your own opinion." Or I recognize that a few people will be upset by these developments. You're welcome to your own opinions. I would encourage you to simply reach out and request for a full refund if you feel strongly enough about it. We've already done that for a couple of people who didn't think Black Lives Matter, and we'd be happy to do it again for people who don't think board games should be a safe space for everyone. Nice. Which I think kind of, I think that kind of gets to the crux of the point of the change. And it's kind of like it's an interesting issue. Like, it's not to say that like, I think you could still have a fantasy world where it's like, say you have like a robot race where, like an entire race, does have a certain stat or something like that. It's not saying that you can't do anything like that necessarily, but it's just being more mindful of what sort of narratives you are creating and
or like baggage from previous archetypes, like, oh, we're pulling this from Tolkien, and we didn't necessarily question assumptions and coding that he made when he, figured out, oh, I want orcs in this, right? Yeah.
Another interesting thing that they're changing with the campaign is like Frosthaven itself, I think, is like a city or a colony that you can, I guess, like take over more or less. And so, you can the way they phrase it is, you will no longer be railroaded into supporting the colonization of indigenous populations.
Sweet.
Seems like a great idea. Seems like that shouldn't even be in the game, maybe in the first place. Like, that's not a very heroic campaign. I don't know. It's like, maybe, I know it's like good or evil in the game, so it's like, it seems like maybe that would fit for an evil campaign, but it's good that they're making it a choice as opposed to something that's being forced. There's a couple of games that have kind of pulled this like blunder in the past. The one that I can think of in particular is there's a game called Archipelago, where literally there's a mechanic about the like descent of the indigenous population that is like a game mechanic, and it's like, you shouldn't do that. You should it's. On the one hand, it's like you shouldn't try and change how things were historically. On the other hand, you shouldn't like trivialize it to a game mechanic, probably.
Yeah, so, there's probably a more nuanced take on it. I mean, that's something that Wizards of the Coast is doing with Dungeons and Dragons here recently. Okay. People have rightly criticized an awful lot of source books for kind of having a legacy of that kind of stuff, and they've been addressing it. Specifically, like a pretty good source book that came out called Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, like gave a different way to think about race in your campaign.
That's good.
Yeah, progress.
Yeah,
it helps everybody.
Say, not every game can do this because not every game can hire like a cultural consultant for their game.
Yes.
But it's good to see that like somebody who's like one of the most popular games is doing it. Like that's a good example. So
yeah,
sweet.
I dig it. And my story is literally just a thing is happening. There is an indie game. It is like a sci-fi kind of futuristic game about taking photographs in kind of a city. It is called Umurangi Generation. I have wanted to play this for a while, but I figured, that's probably coming to the Switch, and that's how I want to play it. Turns out it's coming to the Switch on June the 5th. So cool. My understanding is the plot goes places and it is really good. A lot of people that I follow on Twitter have said like, yes, this is my favorite game of 2020. And now I'm going to get to play it in my bed, which will be fun. So June 5th, eShop.
It came out in 2020 already?
And it is 2021 right now.
Oh, wait. But you said the favorite game of 2020?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
Yes.
So it came out in 2020?
Yeah, it's on PC right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. Umurangi Generation. It's also like a nice short one too. So it's supposed to be like a 5-hour game. Neat. Cool. Well, how do you all feel about bundling it up?
I feel buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this level number 372. If you are listening, we're really grateful to you. I'm trying to think of like calls to action and stuff, but the usual ones, how to help out the show, help out the network. Going to facebook.com/the level podcast, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, following us on Twitter when applicable. all of that good stuff. Hey, Dottie. She knows. The cats hear me. They know that I'm wrapping up the show. Is there anything that I'm forgetting?
No, but I hear the thunder rolling. Let's wrap it.
Yeah, I don't want you to be swept away. Cool. So I've been Kole Ross. You can find me on Twitter at Kole Ross.
I'm Jala-chan in places. You can find me there if I am to be found.
I'm Ben Merkel right here.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, I've got two. I have Bubble Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Once I Built the Dingus.
I have three.
Okay.
I have Bubble Bible.
Okay.
Sad Apples. And Tech Tree Twerk.
Okay.
That makes me laugh quite a bit.
Ben?
I have Business Casual Office and Business Office. Good luck fitting that into a title.
Okay. Is that all you had?
Yep.
By the votes, it's Bubble Bible?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I like it. It's cute.
Let's do it then.